So, to understand why you drink, we have to go back in time. Not to your childhood, but way further back, to your biology. Human beings are tribal animals. For hundreds of thousands of years, our survival depended on the group. If you were part of the tribe, you had food, protection, and shelter. If you were kicked out of the tribe, you didn't just get lonely, you died. You were eaten by a lion, or you would simply freeze to death. So that fear of being excluded didn't disappear just because we now wear suits and use LinkedIn. This is hardwired into your DNA. It's as deep as your fear of falling or your fear of fire. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Modern society knows this, and for the last few hundred years, it has quietly attached one specific behavior to membership in the tribe: drinking alcohol. This is the cult of the tribe. Just for a second, think about the phrase, let's go for a drink. We don't say, let's go and talk. We don't say, let's connect. We say, let's go and have a pint. Let's go and have a glass of wine. So the chemical becomes the ticket to the interaction. It's become the entry fee to the group. So when you say, nah, I'm good, your logical brain thinks it's a harmless decision, but your survival brain goes into meltdown. It screams, danger, you're rejecting the tribe and you may be cast out. And this is why peer pressure feels so heavy, even as a grown adult with a mortgage. It isn't just about being cool. It actually feels like a threat to your safety, status, and place that you've built in the world. And if you don't understand this, you'll probably just keep thinking that you're some weak-willed person, when really your brain is just running on ancient software in a modern bar. So let's look at a specific example. The concept of buying rounds. Let's say you're at the pub with 4 colleagues after work. One person goes to the bar, buys 5 drinks, and hands you a beer. In that moment, an unspoken contract is signed. You might not have asked for the beer. You might not have even chosen it. But because they bought it for you, you now feel a debt. You feel an obligation to drink it, and more importantly, you feel an obligation to buy the next round. If you say, nah, I'm not drinking, you aren't just refusing a liquid. You're breaking the contract. You're disrupting the ritual that everybody else is blindly following. The group looks at you. There's an awkward silence. Someone says, go on, just have the one. They aren't pushing the liquid on you because they care about what you drink. See, when this happens, they're not necessarily pushing the liquid on you because they care about what you drink. They push it because your sobriety makes them feel uncomfortable. Because the second that you stay sober, you hold up a mirror. You're showing them that it is possible to relax, connect, and socialize without consuming ethanol. And that simply forces them to look at their own drinking, their own dependence on just one. Most people don't want to see that. So they pressure you to join them. They want you to step back into the matrix also they can feel normal again. See, society has trained you into thinking that poisoning yourself is the price that you pay to be part of the group. The price of friendship, of being a good colleague or client, of being a team player. Now, the way that you actually deal with this is fully changing the way that you view alcohol. This is what I help people do in the Sober Clear program, because you'd have no problem if all of your friends were taking painkillers and said, do you want one? You'd be like, no, but do your thing, I don't care. So again, if you want to apply to work with me directly, click the link down below, fill in an application, let's jump on a short call, let's tackle the next hurdle. One of the biggest fears for most people that are trying to stop drinking. Millions of people that stop drinking have this belief that if I don't drink, I will be boring. They think that if they don't drink, they won't be fun. Now, this is a lie that society has repeated so many times that we don't even question it. We treat it almost like gravity, like it's just the way that things are. So let's do what we've been doing this whole time. Let's strip this down with first principles. Firstly, what is alcohol? It's ethanol, it's a depressant, it's a chemical that slows down your brain function, it makes you slur your words, it makes you forget what you said 5 minutes ago. Excuse me, but does that sound fun? Does that sound interesting? If you met a person who was slurring, stumbling, and repeating themselves while sober, you'd be thinking, are they okay? Do I need to call a doctor? Do they need help? So why do we think alcohol makes us fun? Modern society and the societal conditioning has redefined the word fun. Fun has stopped meaning connection, creativity, shared experiences, and started meaning chaos, noise, forgetting consequences, acting out, degeneracy. And I'm sorry to say this, and this might sound harsh, Alcohol does not make you interesting. Alcohol instead makes boring situations and boring people seem interesting. Think about the office party. I remember these when I worked in London. You're standing in a room with people that you barely know. You don't really like them. You don't really have anything in common with them. You don't really care. They don't care either. The conversation is dry. It's awkward. So you drink. And then all of a sudden, the boring conversation seems tolerable. You might laugh at jokes that aren't funny, and you tolerate behavior that would probably have normally annoyed you. And then you end up staying way longer than you had planned or wanted to, and you're not necessarily having fun. You're simply numbing boredom. You're lowering your standards for what you accept as a good time. And then the crazy thing happens. You then blame yourself, and then you start to say, without alcohol, I'd be boring. When the reality is far different. Alcohol is what has been separating you from real fun, real presence, and the real you. See, instead of doing what you actually enjoy with people who genuinely add value to your life, you settle for less, just because alcohol is blurring the reality in front of you. Now, let's take a look at another insidious trap. Society loves to use this word, buzzkill. Let's say you're again at a work event, maybe a party, a night out. You're the one person with water. Everybody else is on their third drink. And it's just a matter of time until somebody comes up to you and says, don't be a buzzkill, or whatever else. Don't be a lame, don't be a loser, don't be boring. But let's look at what's really happening. Those people drinking alcohol are on a sinking ship. They are slowly losing their cognitive abilities, and they're getting louder and they're getting messier. You, the sober person, you're standing on solid ground. You're sharp, you're witty, you're present. You're not killing the buzz. You're just witnessing reality. See, again, the reason that they call you a buzzkill is because your presence reminds them that their buzz is fake. You're living proof that it's possible to relax, to connect, to be out without poisoning your brain. And listen, that's uncomfortable to look at when you build your social life around the bottle. Listen to me. True charisma, true likability doesn't come from a bottle. True connection comes from being present. When you're sober, you are actually more fun because you're actually there. You remember the conversations. You can make real jokes and not just slurred nonsense. You notice people. You remember things. You respond. You lead. Society tricked you into dimming your own light just so others wouldn't have to squint and see how artificial their good time really is. The next thing we're going to discuss is where the programming gets emotional. Society has deeply linked alcohol even to our most intimate moments. Love and celebration. Let's take a look at the first date. We've been taught that we probably shouldn't talk to a potential romantic partner without a social lubricant. And we say that I need a drink, I need to take the edge off. But what does that actually mean? Take the edge off. It means you want to sedate your anxiety. You want to numb your nervous system. But just think about this logically. Nerves and anxiety on a first date is normal. It's biological. It's your body's radar system working. Your body is trying to figure out, is this person safe? Do I like them? And are we compatible? You're on high alert. When you drink 2 glasses of wine, that radar shuts off. Does the anxiety go away? Yes. But you also numb your intuition. You might walk away thinking, wow, we really had chemistry, when in reality, you just had chemistry with the dopamine hit from the alcohol. Think about how many relationships have started this way. Think how many people wake up next to somebody and think, what did I even see in them? The alcohol made the decision, not necessarily the person. Society tells us that sober dating is awkward. And yeah, the first 10 minutes might be awkward, but that awkwardness is real. It's authentic. And what I promise you is that if you can push through the first 10 minutes without the crutch, you get to something amazing. Real connection. You get to see the person for who they are, and they get to see you. Not the numbed version of you, the real you. And for the record, I stopped drinking 7 years ago. I met my wife a few months later, obviously didn't date with drinking, and now I'm married. A real relationship was able to form because I don't drink. Now, let's look at the champagne toast. This works in business, but let's talk about it in the context of a wedding. See, champagne is the ultimate symbol of celebration. We raise this glass of bubbly liquid to honor a bride and a groom. But have you ever thought why? Why is champagne the symbol of celebration? Do you want to know why? Because that's what society says. See, just imagine that you're at a wedding. Imagine the waiter comes around with his tray and passes you a glass. And you all of a sudden say, no thanks, I'm just drinking water, I'm good. And then you hear somebody over the side of you. And he shouts, hey, It's a toast. Just grab the glass, you have to. And they look at you like you're almost disrespecting the marriage. It's insanity. You're there to celebrate love. You're there to witness a union. I'm sorry, but how does putting a fermented grape into your bloodstream make you more supportive of the marriage? It doesn't. In fact, look at the end of some weddings. There are weddings where bridesmaids are crying in bathrooms. There are weddings where grooms are too drunk to remember the speech. Guests fighting, arguing, people falling out, people throwing up, blacking out. Is that really a celebration? Or is that just chaos? Society has convinced us that we can't feel joy unless we're intoxicated. Listen, joy is a natural human emotion. You don't need a chemical to feel it. In fact, the chemical actually blunts the joy. It puts a fog over the memory. And more often than not, the moments that you say that you never want to forget are the ones that you smear with alcohol. See, when you're sober at a wedding, you feel everything. You cry at the vows, not because you're drunk, but because you're moved. You dance because you're happy, not just because you've lost your inhibitions. And you're fully there for the people you love. You remember the moment and you're able to carry it with you. You don't just attend the celebration, you reclaim it. So next, we need to talk about how society has taught you to handle your feelings. So from the time that we're young adults, we are given a toolkit for emotions, and that toolkit has one tool in it: alcohol. For men, this box is especially rigid. Men are taught not to show weakness. Men are taught not to cry, taught to be tough, man up, get on with it. But men and humans all have feelings. We have stress, we have fear, we have grief, we have disappointment. So where do men put those feelings? Go to the pub, have a pint, have a drink. And then the bar or the pub becomes the only place where men actually let their guard down. And even then, they don't really talk. They sit side by side, staring, watching a sports game, numbing out. And the alcohol numbs out the stress for a few hours. It pushes the sadness down. For women, and specifically mothers, the programming is even more insidious. See, in 2025, being a wine mum isn't just a habit, it's an identity. It's become a badge of honor. See, when a mum posts a meme about needing wine to survive her kids, she is sending a signal to the tribe. She's saying, I'm stressed. Parenting is hard. I'm one of you. And you know what happens? The tribe responds. Likes, hearts, comments. You deserve it, mum. The wine becomes a symbol of solidarity. If you're a mum and you say, I don't drink, I meditate to handle my stress, I go for a run, you risk being seen as too perfect. You risk being seen as judgmental. The tribe wants you to share in the struggle. And the symbol of the struggle is the wine glass. This is another trap. Why? Because alcohol increases cortisol, it increases anxiety, and it steals your sleep. So the very thing that you're using to handle the stress of parenting actually makes you less capable of parenting in the first place. It makes you less patient with kids, it makes you exhausted, it frazzles you out, and society has tricked mothers into poisoning themselves in the name of self-care. This is nothing other than gaslighting. Listen, true self-care isn't about checking out of life. True self-care is building a life that you don't want to escape from. How many times have you said, I had a hard day, I need a drink? Society reinforces this constantly. In every movie, when the main character gets fired or dumped, what do? They go to the bar and order a double whiskey. See, we're conditioned to reach for the bottle the moment we feel pain. But let's go back to first principles. Pain, stress, and sadness are signals. They're your body telling you that something is wrong. They're telling you to change something. See, maybe you need to quit that job. Maybe you need to have that hard conversation with your husband or wife. Maybe you need to just rest. When you drink alcohol, you cut the wire to the warning light. You kill the signal. So when you drink, nothing changes. People end up staying in the bad job. They stay in the dysfunctional relationship and you burn out. See, alcohol allows you to tolerate a life that you should be changing. Society has tricked you into settling for mediocrity by giving you a way to numb out the dissatisfaction. It's taught you that having a drink is an adult response to a bad day, when in reality, it's just an adult pacifier. Listen, you weren't born reaching for a glass every time you felt something uncomfortable. You've been trained to do that. And once you see that conditioning, you can choose something different. Now, the fear of missing out, or FOMO, is not just a buzzword. FOMO is a psychological landmine, and it's rigged to explode right when you're trying to claw your way out of the bottle. It's an invisible chain that yanks you back to the bar even as your gut screams to run. And studies have shown that this is no joke. People who score high in the fear of missing out drink more, they're more likely to binge drink, and this is even after accounting for personality traits like extroversion. And for young adults, that fear amps up binge drinking by a whopping margin. Adolescents who experience the fear of missing out are up to 50% higher risk of pounding shots just to keep up. And don't get me started on social media. That endless scroll, it's fuel on the fire. Research ties FOMO from Instagram and TikTok directly to heavier boozing and a spike in alcohol arms, turning harmless envy into a hangover factory. You look at your friends on Instagram, they're at a concert, your favorite artist is playing, everybody's bouncing up and down, or you see the rooftop dinner, the toasts with the craft cocktails. Everything looks so perfect, it all looks so alive, so free. And in those moments, your brain whispers, if I quit drinking, my life's over. Everybody else is going to be having fun, sunsets, glamour, and my fun is going to be gone. This fear is an invisible wall. It's thicker than regret, stickier than shame, and here's the truth. The fear of missing out has been engineered. Alcohol companies have hacked into it, and social media algorithms know it as well. They push these highlight reels because engagement skyrockets when you're feeling left behind. You're not imagining things, you're marinating in it. And these people that we can look at and envy, they're not winning, they're trapped. See, when you stop drinking alcohol, you don't miss out on life. You start owning life. Everything gets better. Your liver heals, sleep improves, anxiety goes down, and eventually you start waking up motivated. You're ready to attack the day. Listen, there's nothing to miss out on. When you stop drinking alcohol, you get your life back. And right now, you have a choice. You can either keep drinking alcohol and do what you've been doing, or click this video on the screen now and I'm going to show you how to put an end for it forever.